One more question before you get
Sure.
out of the door. Are you a sports fan?
Kind of, sort of. Why do you ask?
Are you a Mets fan?
Oh, I used to be.
Did you like Dwight Gooden?
Did I like him? Well, I thought he was a marvelous pitcher.
Because I one of my side projects right now, and it's gaining steam. I have set up a petition to get him back on the ballot to go to Cooperstown.
Oh, oh yeah. Did he get into some sort of trouble or something? Was there some sort of
There was
thing?
some off the field stuff, but he's cleaned up and everything's good now. I met him a few years ago. He came to Kansas City. He was a part of the Hall of Game.
Ah,
Wonderful, very warm man. Just a very nice human being. And
that's what I always thought. Yeah.
he just does a lot of really good work. So, anyways, I got a petition out there, so I'd love to send it over as a Met fan if
Sure.
you would sign it.
Absolutely. No,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool.
I
Yeah,
was a fan in the 1980s. I was a fan way back I'm maybe a little older than you. I was a fan back in the days of like Tom Seaver when I was a
yeah.
kid.
I watched a documentary on Yogi Berra, and he had left the Yankees and went over there, and that '69, that miracle team was because of Yogi. Yogi was so instrumental. Wherever he went, he just turned it around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
When you
so
get to a fork in the road, take it.
that's right. That's what I'm saying. And but yeah, the '86 Mets. My dad was born in Brooklyn and raised in Long Island, so I always had this soft spot because the stadium was right out there in Long Island, and I just love that team. And I collected baseball cards, and Doc Gooden was my guy.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, so it was like just having that. Just having those memories of him and what he did is wonderful. So I'm going to try to push and see if we can't get him in
Oh
Cooperstown.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. You know what blows my mind? You remember we had that dynasty period of the New York Yankees,
Yeah.
and that was under Joe Torre.
Uh-huh.
And as a Mets fan, you know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Joe Torre was the coach of the Mets in the late '70s,
Right.
and their record was terrible though.
Yeah, I know.
They were like the worst team in their division every year. It was just so sad. And Joe Torre was the coach. I don't think he was a bad coach, but then he comes over to the Yankees and makes them a stellar team. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, and Doc Gooden was on the Yankees and pitched a no-hitter
Right,
and got a
Yankees.
ring with them. So he's been on both sides of
Right.
the New York line. So it's interesting, you
Yeah.
know.
The '86 team was just unbelievable. They were just they made up for so much of the lame years of the Mets.
Yeah,
They just were doing anything,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you have this amazing stellar Darryl Strawberry. You got Dwight Gooden. You
I
got Gooden. You
know.
got all the cats. Who was
Yeah,
the catcher's name again? The catcher
Gary Carter.
Gary Carter. All these cats, just unbelievable.
And he was such a glue. He was so happy. But that whole team, and then you had the bad boys. You had Lenny Dykstra, and then you had the other guys that would get contentious. But it was just like you needed that. You needed that lightning rod. And man, I
Yeah.
remember listening to those games when I was in high school. I'd sneak in the library and put on the headset and listen to that whole like postseason unfold. It was so many good memories, man.
Man, you got to play. I have to tell you a story. I was on the road with Maria Schneider in 1998. We're in touring Europe. I was a sub, but I was a very frequent sub for many years. Tours. I mean, I'm on one of her records. This is when I played trombone, and we were on the road. We're sharing a bill with the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra, and Mel had been dead for a while, Mel Lewis, but it was the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra in 1998. We're on the road in Europe, and we had a baseball game or a softball game. It was Maria's band versus the Vanguard band,
Yeah.
and I think the Vanguard band won. They were kind of like heavy baseball guys,
Yeah.
really, really into baseball.
Yeah.
That was what the bands used to do in the swing area.
Yeah. Yeah.
They played
Yeah.
baseball against each other. The two bands would be crossing paths in one town. One person's leaving, one person's coming. They would orchestrate these games. They go to a field like Harry James versus whoever. It's kind of a fun thing.
That, I remember Seinfeld did a spoof on that where they would have, different people that would be on teams. What a great idea. And I think about that just in the professional world. What a great way of camaraderie, a different way of seeing the world, but you just get to kind of get dirty and get out there and do it up. It's great, man.
And it
So,
wasn't, it was just a different way of dealing with people, and not
uh-huh.
only your colleagues on your band, but here's who'd be up. I know, some member of the Vanguard band would be at the plate, and like
Yeah.
I don't know who the pitcher was. I don't know who our pitcher was.
Right.
I can't remember who won. And I remember one guy who was wearing a sport coat, one of the older guys in the Vanguard band. I won't say who. Kind of a dusty old coat. He looked like some cat who came out of the 1950s. Somebody said, "Don't throw the ball my way. Don't throw it my way."
That's awesome. Hey, real quick, do you mind if I use any of this about the Mets and Dwight Gooden? I'm just trying to put positive energy out there. Is that cool? Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm just kind of adding this as an addendum to people that I know that are New York that like the Mets, and I'm just trying to, because at this point now I've sent the letter to Cooperstown. It's really about putting good noise out there, and I just want to get as much good energy out there to get this happening. So
I'll also say one last thing, and you can snip this in if you want to edit it. You have to remember it was quite a while ago. My memory of Dwight Gooden is from the 1980s, and primarily with the Mets.
Yeah.
And I was a fan of the Mets at that time. I sort of drifted in and out of it over the years, but he always seemed like a class act on the mound. And whatever he did in his personal life, I think this is not the same argument that's being made about. I don't have no opinion on this, but I don't think you can compare this situation between Dwight Gooden and Pete Rose. I think they're different.
They are.
I think it's a different argument.
Yep.
I mean, if we're talking about things like, something like gambling versus addiction. Addiction is an illness. I don't know if you could say gambling is an illness. It may or may not be, of course, betting on teams and things like the unethical nature of that. But I have no opinion about, I liked Pete Rose. I like as a player, he was stunning. Look at his record. My God.
Yeah.
But the thing about Dwight, if it had to do with, I can't remember the ins and outs, but if it did have to do with things that revolved around addiction, people, I believe they should have some more compassion about that, because
100%.
a lot of times that comes from a place, it's kind of an illness. It can be an illness, and people should, if the person recognizes it and gets treatment for it, then it should be recognized as such, and not, if the person does what they need to do, should not be held against them.
I totally agree. And I think that's the part of what I'm trying to get through with this, is that he has turned his life around. And it's not like he was using performance enhancing drugs. And even with
that's
the gambling,
another thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And even with the gambling, he was directly and doing that to the game. Doc wasn't doing this to the game. Doc was off the field doing it, and it was a part of his personal life, which is aside from all of it. But the thing about Doc and all of this is that when we talk about baseball, when you talk about Tom Seaver and all of that, it's beyond the numbers. It's that warm feeling of baseball. It's that national pastime. It's that palpable thing. And to see this human being that's evolved to this point that gave us so much, I think it's time for him to get the sunshine.
I got to tell you one quick story. First of all, you got to play the Jackie Robinson big band hit at some point, right?
Yeah, right.
You got to do that.
Yes.
I remember, let me tell you the story. I wanted to be on Little League baseball, and I only wanted to be a pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only thing. I wanted to be a pitcher. I was good at imitating things when I was a kid. I was also good at imitating Tom Seaver's windup.
Yeah.
I got his windup by watching TV and going to Shea Stadium to them play as a kid. So I got the windup. I looked like Tom Seaver.
Yeah.
But guess what? I couldn't find the strike zone to save my, what. But I look great doing it.
You had style. That's what I'm saying. And I've done that with Gooden. I can't do it. Like when I have tried to replicate Doc's pitch, I just fall sideways like I'm on a steamship leaning this way. Like I just can't do it. But that's the beauty. That's the elegance of this sport that we love called baseball. That's
remember who was the Mets player? No, not the Mets. The Red Sox player in the 80s, the 70s, 80s. The large guy, African American guy. He would turn all the way around and come back. You know what I'm talking about.
Was it Big Poppy?
No, was that Wes? His nickname? Who are you talking about?
Yeah, Ortiz.
No.
Oh, this is way back in the. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Louis Tiant.
Yes.
My God, now that was a windup.
Yes.
He went all the way around and came back.
I know, it's wild. And in the 80s, we had Dan Quisenberry that did the underarm thing, and it was just like he would just fly off of the mound, but he would hit a strike. It would be perfect.
Right. Right. It's a signature. It's almost like a style. It's like someone's literally their signature.
That's it.
Where they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Pete, this has been wonderful. So great to catch up with you. Let's do it again, man. Best of luck with everything.
All right. Well, thanks for supporting me. I appreciate it very much, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.